The sun shimmered across the tranquil lake outside the Willowcrest estate, where golden light filtered through the high-arched windows of the bridal hall. Inside one of the private suites, the soft hum of hair dryers, rustling fabric, and excited murmurs filled the air. I stood before a full-length mirror, adjusting the silver bracelet on my wrist, a gift from my sister Lily, who was getting married today. The soft blush gown she'd picked for me hung effortlessly, flowing like liquid rose quartz. "Sophie, you good?" came a familiar voice from behind the door, my husband, Alan. His voice always carried a soothing strength, and today it had an edge of anticipation. "1 second," I called back, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear and taking a deep breath. The emotion sat just beneath the surface. I gave myself one final glance, then stepped out. Alan was waiting in the corridor, dressed in a dark green suit that complemented his hazel eyes. Even after 13 years, there was something grounding about his presence. "You look radiant," he said, slipping his hand into mine. "Your sister's not the only showstopper today." I laughed, leaning in for a soft kiss. "I'm just the backup act," I teased. Lily and I were 10 years apart, me the older and more reserved one. She was always the starburst, the laughter in the room, the one dancing barefoot at family barbecues. I was the quiet observer, the listener. But despite our different energies, we had always been fiercely close. "You think she's nervous?" I asked as we made our way down the hall. "Nah," Alan replied. "She's been ready for this since the day she met Jonah. I think she's calmer than I've ever seen her." Jonah had come into Lily's life 2 years ago when she was working at a nonprofit literacy center, a volunteer who stayed long after the others had left, a man who listened deeply and laughed easily. I hadn't trusted him at first, big sisters rarely do, but over time, he proved himself. "I want to stop by her room before the ceremony," I said. "Go," Alan nodded. "I'll grab our seats." The bridal suite was on the 3rd floor, tucked away from the busyness of the event space. When I knocked, a chorus of laughter floated through before the door opened and Mom's smiling face greeted me. Her eyes were red from happy tears. "She's almost ready," Mom whispered, pulling me inside. And there she was, Lily, standing by the window, bathed in natural light. Her dress, ivory with soft lace shoulders, flowed down like the gentle fall of first snow. Her hair was swept back, a few curls framing her delicate face. "You're breathtaking," I said, my voice catching. She turned slowly and beamed. "You really think so?" "I know so." She walked over, barefoot still, and wrapped her arms around me. "I've been waiting for this moment my whole life," she whispered, "and I'm so glad you're here beside me." We stayed like that for a moment, just breathing, just being. "Dad would have been proud," she added. A silence fell between us. Our father had passed away 3 years ago, and though time had dulled the sharp edge of grief, the longing lingered, especially on days like this. "I think he's watching," I replied, probably sitting in the front row next to Mom, complaining about how tight his shoes feel. Lily laughed, and Mom chuckled from the corner. The wedding planner peeked her head in a few minutes later, 5 minutes until go time. I kissed Lily's forehead and squeezed her hand. "I'll see you at the altar." Down in the ceremony garden, white gardenias lined the aisle, and string lights hung between the trees, twinkling like stars against the softening sky. I found Alan near the front, saving a seat beside him. A soft instrumental melody began to play as guests turned toward the aisle. Jonah walked in with steady steps, a quiet confidence radiating from him. He stood beneath the floral arch, waiting, his eyes searching, his hands slightly trembling. He looked like a man who already knew what mattered. Then the bridesmaids began to enter, one by one, and finally, Lily. The music changed, and everyone rose. There was an audible gasp, a collective intake of breath as she appeared. I watched Jonah's face. He didn't smile wide or laugh. Instead, tears welled in his eyes, and he placed a hand over his heart as Lily walked closer. Mom sniffled beside me, dabbing at her cheeks with a silk handkerchief. I reached out and held her hand. It felt fragile, warm, and full of years of shared memories. The ceremony was simple. The vows were honest, heartfelt. Lily's voice wavered when she spoke of building a life, of never taking small joys for granted. Jonah promised to keep learning her language, both spoken and unspoken. When they kissed, a cheer broke out through the crowd. Petals rained down from above. I glanced at Alan, who was watching me. "You cried," he whispered, nudging me playfully. "So did you," I whispered back. Later, under the golden hue of string lights and the sound of laughter echoing off the lake, I stood with Lily on the edge of the dock. "You happy?" I asked. "I didn't know I could be this happy," she said, "but I think I always knew today would come." And for the first time in a long while, I let myself feel the completeness of this day. It wasn't just a wedding. It was about trust, about time, about finding peace in the chapters we never thought would arrive. And in that moment, surrounded by stars and love and the faint smell of lake water and wildflowers, I knew we were exactly where we needed to be. Then, at last, Lily appeared. She stepped into the garden chapel, her arm gently wrapped around our mother's. The soft rustle of her gown against the wooden floor echoed in the stillness of the moment. Though I had seen her just an hour earlier, the sight of her now, in the hush of this sacred space, stole my breath. Her veil fluttered slightly in the breeze, and sunlight caught the shimmer of beading on her train, making it glow like dew at dawn. Mom looked regal and steady behind her, though I could see the emotions in her tightened jaw and trembling smile. She walked slowly, her spine tall with pride and perhaps a trace of quiet sorrow, walking the daughter she once cradled in her arms into a new life. Lily's eyes sparkled as she passed each row of guests, exchanging glances and warm nods. But when her eyes met mine, her expression softened into something personal and intimate, something only sisters understand. My heart swelled and tears pushed against my lashes. She looked so full of joy, so sure of her path, that it made me ache with love. At the altar, Jonah stood waiting, eyes already glassy. When Lily arrived before him, Mom gently placed her hand in his. Their fingers laced without hesitation, and something unspoken passed between them, years of longing and arrival captured in a single touch. The officiant stepped forward, voice deep and reverent. "Dear friends, we gather here today beneath the sky and among the trees to witness the union of Jonah Rivers and Lily Bennett in love and partnership." As the words drifted over us, I couldn't help but remember our childhood. Lily spinning around the living room in a towel wrapped like a wedding dress, asking me to pretend to be the officiant. Back then, it was all giggles and candy rings. And now, this, the real thing, her dream coming true beneath the open sky. Jonah Rivers, do you choose Lily to walk beside you through all of life's seasons, to nurture, to honor, and to love her in joy and in hardship, in peace and in storm, for all the days of your life? "I do," Jonah replied, voice steady and rich with emotion. "Lily Bennett, do you choose Jonah as your partner, your heart's companion, and your home? Will you support, love, and cherish him through every chapter that unfolds?" "I do." Lily's voice was soft but resolute. There was no hesitation, only love. They exchanged rings, hands trembling slightly, their smiles glowing brighter with every word. "With this ring, I give you all of me," Jonah said. "My trust, my hopes, my forever." "With this ring," Lily answered, slipping it onto his finger, "I promise to grow with you, to stand with you, and to always find my way back to you." Beside me, Alan took my hand. I didn't need to look at him to know he was remembering our own vows that spring day a dozen years ago. His thumb gently brushed my knuckles, grounding me in the memory. The officiant's voice dropped into the final blessing. "By the love between you and the commitment you've declared before your community, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may share your first kiss." And just like that, they did. A sweet, meaningful kiss that drew a swell of applause and cheers. Lily beamed through tears, and Jonah held her face in his hands like she was the rarest treasure on earth. The guests rose to their feet, clapping as the new couple walked hand in hand down the aisle, petals cascading around them. When Lily passed me, she gave a little wave, eyes shining, cheeks flushed. I'd never seen her look more radiant. Later, during the cocktail hour, guests mingled beneath the canopy of lantern-lit trees. Trays of sparkling cider and savory canapes floated around. Alan and I stood by the veranda, watching Lily and Jonah pose for photos near the water's edge. The sun was beginning to dip, casting a honeyed glow over everything. Her dress shimmered in the fading light, and for a second, she looked like she belonged to another world. "She's glowing," Alan said, sipping from his glass. "She is," I agreed. "I haven't seen her like this, ever, really." "Did you meet Jonah's mom?" he asked. "Yes," I smiled. "Evelyn, so gracious. She said she's always hoped Jonah would find someone like Lily, someone warm and true. She even called her my daughter during the toast rehearsal." "That's rare," Alan said, impressed. "I know. It made me feel at peace, like this isn't just a good match, it's a good joining." My mother joined us then, her eyes a little misty again. "Sophie," she said, placing a hand on my arm, "thank you for everything you did today. Your father would have been so proud." I nodded, holding her hand. "I think he was here. In the breeze, in the way Lily looked at Jonah. I think he saw it all." "He did," Mom said with certainty. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, guests were guided into the reception hall, a rustic yet elegant barn adorned with fairy lights and wildflower arrangements. Round tables encircled a dance floor, and golden candlelight flickered in every corner. At the family table, we sat with Jonah's parents and sister. The air buzzed with joy and laughter, but a kind of reverent joy, the kind that comes from witnessing something pure. Then the DJ announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time as husband and wife, Jonah and Lily Rivers." The crowd stood, clapping and cheering. The couple entered hand in hand, Lily now in a softer, flowing reception gown, her hair half up and glowing under the lights. Jonah kissed her hand as they made their way to the center of the room. After dinner, Jonah gave his speech. Every word was simple, heartfelt. "Falling in love with Lily changed the rhythm of my life. Her kindness, her fire, her faith in people, it made me better. Thank you all for being here, for holding space for this love." Applause rippled through the room. Then Lily took the microphone, her voice filled with warmth. "I want to thank every one of you, especially the two women who shaped me, my mother who taught me grace and strength, and my sister, Sophie, who has been my mirror, my grounding, and my dearest friend." My eyes brimmed over again. Alan slid a napkin across the table without a word. The rest of the night unfolded in dancing, laughter, and long embraces. It was a night of joy sewn gently with threads of memory and love. And as I watched Lily dancing in Jonah's arms beneath the twinkle lights, I knew her story had just begun, and it was already beautiful. Robert didn't speak right away. His fingers gripped the steering wheel as if he were holding back something volatile. For a moment, all I could hear was the steady hum of my own heartbeat, louder than the engine, louder than the night. Finally, he exhaled slowly, as though he'd been holding his breath for hours. "I saw someone," he said at last. His voice was low and careful, as if saying it too loudly might summon something. "In the kitchen, near the back door." I stared at him. "Saw someone? Who?" He hesitated. It was quick, but I recognized him. I'm almost sure. "Recognized? Who, Robert?" He turned toward me fully now, his face etched with something between fear and disbelief. "Marcus Keene." I blanked. Marcus Keene? The arson suspect from the Northgate fire? My voice rose despite myself. He nodded. "Yes, I testified at his trial. He was convicted, but he got out on a technicality last year. I haven't seen him since, until tonight. He was wearing a hotel uniform, but it was him. I'd bet my life on it." I sat back against the seat, stunned. My mind scrambled to process what he just told me. But why would he be at the Grand Pacific Hotel, at Jessica's wedding? This makes no sense. "I don't know," Robert said. "That's what terrifies me." The weight of his words settled over us like a lead blanket. "I couldn't risk anything," he added quietly. "Not with you there. not when I saw him disappear back toward the kitchen. My gut told me something was wrong. Something didn't feel right about that fish dish either. I saw him near the prep line. He wasn't just lurking, he was working. The champagne, the food, the hundreds of guests, including my sister. Suddenly, the thought struck me like a slap. Jessica, Robert, she's still in there. I know, he said quickly, but if I'd said something and been wrong. You're not wrong, I cried. You've never looked like that unless it was serious. He started the car again, eyes scanning the rearview mirror. I didn't want to cause panic or ruin her wedding, but now he pulled out his phone and called the local authorities. His voice became efficient, clipped, professional, the firefighter in him taking charge. This is Robert Langston, retired Battalion 12. I'm reporting a potential breach in the kitchen security at the Grand Pacific Hotel. I believe a dangerous individual is posing as staff. Name, Marcus Keene, convicted arsonist, possibly armed. He gave them the necessary details, then hung up. I clutched his hand. Do you think he's planning something? I don't know, but if he is, it won't be good. He holds grudges, Maggie. He told me once in court, "You ruined my life." I was the key witness. He knew my name. He could have found out where I'd be. And what better way to strike back than... I couldn't finish the thought. We sat in silence for a beat, both of us frozen by the implications. Then Robert's phone buzzed. It was a text from one of his old contacts still working in fire services. It read, "Heads up, false alarm at Grand Pacific, small kitchen fire reported. Staff evacuated back area, no injuries. But you were right, Keene's name popped up. Staff batch was fake." Robert let out a slow breath, equal parts relief and dread. He was there, but they found him. Looks like someone saw him leave out the back. Police are searching the grounds now. I covered my mouth with my hands. Oh my God. I knew something wasn't right. I just couldn't risk you, sitting there eating food prepped by a man like him. Who knows what else he touched? I was silent for a long time. Then, softly, I said, "Thank you." He looked at me, puzzled, for pulling me out, for trusting your gut, for not letting me become part of some terrible headline tomorrow. Robert finally smiled, just a small, weary curve of the mouth. I'd do it again 100 times. We sat there in the quiet street, headlights off, bathed in the glow of a flickering street lamp. My nerves slowly began to settle, but a cold current still ran under my skin. Then I remembered something. I think Jessica saw us leave. Robert's smile faded. She was laughing mid-conversation, but for a second she looked our way. Just for a moment. She must be wondering what happened. "We'll tell her," he said, "but not tonight. Let her enjoy what's left. She deserves that." I nodded, eyes misting over again, not from fear this time, but from gratitude and heartbreak woven together. In one evening, I had seen the best and worst of life's fragile beauty, the innocence of vows spoken, the dark shadow of vengeance almost realized, and the quiet power of love that protects. As Robert drove us slowly back toward the safety of home, I reached across the console and took his hand in mine. No more words were needed, but in my heart, I made a silent vow. I would do everything I could to protect my sister's peace. Whatever storm had tried to creep in tonight, it had failed. We sat in the car, bathed in that quiet horror that no headlights could penetrate. The truth settled between us, heavy and sickening. Jessica, my sister, had tried to kill me. No, not just tried, planned it, coldly, deliberately, with a smile on her face and a wedding veil on her head. I need air," I whispered. Robert opened the door and got out first, walking around to my side and helping me step out onto the pavement. The night air was cool against my clammy skin. I leaned against the car, wrapping my arms around myself, but it wasn't the breeze that made me tremble. It was betrayal, the kind you can't stitch up with words. I keep thinking back, I said, my voice barely above a breath, to earlier tonight. The way she smiled at me in the chapel, the toast, her thanking me for helping with the wedding. None of it felt fake. How did I not see it? Robert shook his head gently. Because you loved her. And because people like Jessica, if she really planned this, they don't always look like villains. They look like family. I wiped at my eyes, realizing I was crying again. She knew exactly how to hide it. She made me believe I was her safe place, all while planning to bury me. Greed can make people do unimaginable things, Robert said quietly, and envy can poison even the strongest bond. I just don't understand, I said. She had everything tonight. A new husband, friends, a beautiful future. Why wasn't that enough? He didn't answer. I wasn't sure anyone could. I leaned back against the car, looking up at the stars, trying to hold myself together. But one thought kept circling like a vulture. What do I do now? Later that night, back at home, I sat curled on the edge of our bed, clutching a blanket around me like armor. Robert had made me tea, but it sat untouched on the nightstand. I have to confront her, I said finally. Robert froze at the dresser. Are you sure that's wise? I don't want revenge, I said, but I need to know why. I need to hear it from her, not just guess. He sat beside me. Then you can't go alone. I won't, I said. She won't expect me tonight. She'll think I left because of something minor. Maybe a panic attack, maybe just tiredness. But tomorrow, I'll ask her to meet me, somewhere quiet. Robert nodded reluctantly. Just promise me, if she denies it, don't try to force it. Don't get emotional. Just get the truth you need and walk away. Let the police handle the rest. I looked down at my shaking hands. She almost killed me, Robert. I know. His voice cracked. And she almost got away with it. The next morning, I sent her a simple message. Hey Jess, sorry we had to leave early last night. Could we meet for coffee later? Just the two of us. There's something I need to talk to you about. She replied an hour later. Of course. Are you okay though? You left so suddenly. I was worried. Let me know where and when. Ha, even that heart emoji felt sharp. We arranged to meet that afternoon at a quiet cafe near the Riverwalk, a neutral place, public but calm. When I arrived, Jessica was already there, her hair tied in a soft braid, wearing a cream sweater and sipping iced tea, like nothing had happened. She stood and hugged me. You scared me last night, she said. Was it the food? I sat across from her, trying to keep my hands from trembling. Not exactly, I said. There's something I need to ask you. Her smile faltered slightly. I took a deep breath. Did you tell the chef to add peanut oil to my meal last night? Her eyes widened. What? No. Why would I ever? Robert saw you, I said softly. He saw everything. You confirmed my seat. You pointed to my plate. Then the chef took out a bottle. It was peanut oil, the exact brand used in that restaurant years ago. The same oil that almost killed me. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Her fingers clutched the glass too tightly. I don't know what you think you saw. You said something to Robert last month about what would happen to me. And the inheritance, Jessica. You knew Dad left most of it to me, but you were already making plans with David for the money. Her eyes slowly lifted to mine, cold, calculating, different. And then she smiled. Not a nervous smile, a knowing one. You should have eaten the fish, Maggie, she said calmly. You wouldn't have felt a thing after the first few bites. It would have been painless. But Robert always had that irritating sixth sense, didn't he? She added, sipping her tea again. He ruined everything. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. "Do what you want," she said, standing. "You have no proof. Just his word and your hunches. The chef's long gone. And even if you could convince someone, you think anyone wants a scandal like that attached to a wedding at the Grand Pacific." She slung her bag over her shoulder. "One day you'll realize I did you a favor. You've always been stuck, Maggie. Always the caretaker, the quiet one. Maybe now you'll finally do something for yourself." And with that, she walked away, leaving me there, heart broken in 1,000 pieces, wondering how a sister's love had turned so dark. 3 weeks later, the wounds still ached, but they no longer bled. The world hadn't stopped turning. My morning coffee still brewed, the sun still rose through our kitchen window, and my name was still Margaret Langston. But something inside me had shifted forever. Robert's anonymous tip to the hotel had set everything in motion, a quiet ripple that soon became a wave. Health authorities investigated, security footage was reviewed, and the truth could no longer hide beneath flower arrangements and candlelight. The official cause for the reception's abrupt end was labeled suspected food contamination, but behind the scenes, it was something much darker. Peanut oil, lethal to me, had been found on my untouched plate. The footage was damning. Jessica, with calm precision, pointed at my seat, whispered to the chef. The small bottle in his hand, the deliberate coordination. No panic, no mistake, just intent. Even worse, the authorities uncovered messages, cold, transactional conversations between Jessica and David. They spoke of expansion, of capital, of finalizing things soon. Finalizing me. When David learned what she'd done, he came to our house pale and hollow-eyed. His apology was real, his remorse raw. "I didn't know," he told me. "If I had, God, Maggie, I swear I would have stopped her." I believed him. He had been a pawn, just like me, just like our mother. He filed for divorce quietly and swiftly. "She never showed me this side," he said, "but now I can't unsee it." I haven't spoken to Jessica. I'm not ready. Her lawyers tried to contact me, but I let Robert and our attorney handle it. She's being charged with attempted murder, and though her defense is claiming temporary insanity, the trail of evidence says otherwise. It wasn't rage. It wasn't grief. When Mom learned the truth, she broke down. She didn't eat for days. The pain on her face was almost worse than my own. "I spoiled her," she said through tears, "and I leaned too hard on you. I'm so sorry, Margaret." I held her close. "You didn't make her choose this path," I said. "She did that on her own." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't so simple. We had all played our roles, in choosing silence, in favoring charm over care, in mistaking personality for character. Now, my life is quiet again, normal even. My work in real estate is thriving. My phone rings with new listings and clients, not police reports. The mornings are slow, filled with sunlight and soft music. Robert still brews my coffee just right, 2 sugars, a splash of milk, and holds my hand a little longer than he used to. We've grown closer through all this, not just out of trauma, but truth. Real love stands still when the world spins too fast. Last week, my friend Sarah visited. We sat on the porch with tea and blankets, and when she heard everything, she looked at me with misty eyes. "Blood doesn't make someone your family," she said. "The people who choose to love you, the ones who stay when things go dark, they're your real family." She was right. My real family is Robert, who trusted his instincts and saved my life. My mother, who is trying now, truly trying, to repair what was neglected. My friends, my neighbors, my colleagues, those who never saw me as an obligation, but as a person worthy of love. This morning, while we were making breakfast, I turned to Robert and whispered, If you hadn't been there that night, I wouldn't be here." He didn't say anything for a moment. Then he put his arm around me and said, "And I'd have lost the most important person in my life. I'm just glad I could protect you." Outside the window, the sky was pink with the first light of day. I took a deep breath. This isn't the life I expected, but it's one I'm learning to love. Maybe one day I'll forgive Jessica, not for her sake, but for mine, because hate is too heavy to carry forever. But for now, I choose peace, gratitude, and I choose to walk forward with the people who would never poison my plate, but who would always feed my soul.